Okay, salam alaikum, everyone. So, first, I'd like to thank you all for coming today and celebrating with us our first annual banquet of the Muslim Foster Care Association. We have the pleasure of welcoming 10-year-old Muhammad Ibrahim Jamal, son of our very own staff member, Nabila Ikram, to the stage, please. He will recite a verse from the Holy Quran that emphasizes the significance of caring for orphans in our faith, and he will translate. Okay? So let's welcome him. You can do this. Yalla, habibi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Speak up. Speak louder.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam. You can begin.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم في الدنيا والآخرة ويسألونك عن اليتامى قل إصلاح لهم خير وإن تخالطوهم فإخوانكم والله يعلم المفسد من المصلح ولو شاء الله لأعنتكم إن الله عزيز حكيم. Upon this world and the hereafter, and they ask you, O Prophet, concerning orphans, say improving their condition is best, and if you partner with them, they are bonded with you in faith. And Allah knows who intends harm and who intends good. Had Allah willed, He could have made it difficult for you. Surely Allah is Almighty, All Wise.
MashaAllah, thank you very much. Okay, Ibrahim, your beautiful recitation has our gratitude. As we extracted from those verses, Islam places great emphasis on rewarding those who care for orphans and children in need. At the Muslim Foster Care Association, our mission is to rekindle the tradition of foster care in our community. Take a moment and we're going to watch a video right here. We kindly request your focus on the screen for a brief video presentation. This video will provide an introduction to the Muslim Foster Care Association, shedding light on its modest origins, current initiatives, and featuring testimonials from foster parents and the youth of the MFCA. And they've been dedicated to supporting. So, without further ado.
Although I was raising 3 boys of my own, I wasn't really prepared for the challenges that parenting a foster child would bring. I mean, imagine what it's like to be taken from the only home and family you've ever known, placed in a home full of strangers, not knowing whether or not you're going to be going back to your family. I couldn't really reach out to my usual network of family and friends. And a mutual friend in 2015 introduced me to Rania.
My husband and I felt a sense of obligation, so in 2015 we became licensed foster parents. In addition to raising our 3 kids, we fostered both refugee and domestic foster kids.
I remember having an instant connection with her, and pretty soon we became each other's lifeline.
We stayed in touch and we shared our fostering experiences.
Through our fostering experience, we met with other Muslim foster families and foster children. The challenges that foster families were going through were actually causing a lot of families to leave the fostering system, as many that were becoming licensed. We also realized that the majority of Muslim children in foster care were with families of other faiths, with families that weren't familiar with our traditions, our holidays, our Islamic concept of modesty, and Islamic dietary guidelines.
Things such as enjoying Ramadan and attending the local mosque are much more difficult when living with a family of another faith. And it didn't take us long to realize that we needed to create a nonprofit to support Muslim foster children and the licensed families that care for them.
That motivated Rania and I to establish the Muslim Foster Care Association in 2016. We began working with local and state agencies, educating them about the unique challenges that Muslim children faced in the foster care system.
Refugee foster children experience many changes and need to adjust to things such as being with a new family, a new country, a new culture, and a new language. They lose so much of their identity that maintaining their faith identity by living in a Muslim home is crucial.
When you're moving into a different home and families are opening up their homes to you, if you have the same cultural background, or even not even the cultural background, just the same religious background, it gives you guys something to bond over. And you know, faith is just something so huge. And a lot of us foster children, we don't come with anything when we move into the new homes. So having our religion be maintained is very important for us.
The Muslim community is not immune to any of these issues. We have all the same problems: substance abuse, domestic violence, physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental health issues, and we have children entering the foster care system for those very same reasons. There's no immunity to our community.
MFCA was my support, it was my rock. Without MFCA, I don't know how I would have really functioned as a foster parent.
There was an organization that can help not just Muslim foster children, but to help the Muslim foster families.
Our mission is to provide support and resources for Muslim foster youth and the families who care for them. Our programs include comfort care packages, which are given to foster children who enter the system, who are sometimes dropped off to their foster home with nothing but the clothes on their backs. We receive requests from agencies to provide Islamic clothing such as thobes and jilbabs, as well as Islamic educational materials such as books, Qur'ans, and more. We recently began providing assistance to youth who are aging out of the system and are placed in independent living. Our assistance programs include covering rent and utility payments for youth who are unable to do so, and helping the youth overcome any financial struggle that they may be going through. We also help connect Muslim foster youth with mentors and tutors who can assist them with schoolwork and developing life skills. Another initiative that we've been working on has been providing educational presentations to caseworkers and foster parents on best practices when caring for Muslim children. Our presentation, titled A Guide to Caring for Muslim Children in Foster Care, includes basic information about Islam and Muslims, as well as our recommendations for accommodating Muslim children to best accommodate their faith needs.
Please join us in reviving and supporting the Sunnah of fostering by supporting the essential work that we are doing at the Muslim Foster Care Association.
With your help, we can continue to expand our programs and provide even more support to Muslim foster children and the families that care for them.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Linda Musabli, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as your MC for this remarkable event. Tonight's cause holds a special place in my heart, and as some of you may already know, I've been a foster parent for a number of years. Throughout this journey, I've had the honor and the privilege of raising several Muslim foster children. It has been an incredibly rewarding experience, and I am truly passionate about the well-being of these foster children and families. I could go on and on and on about myself, but I won't keep you guys too long. For now, let's just come together and celebrate our shared commitment to the Muslim Foster Care Association, and I want to thank you again for being here tonight. I have a few essential announcements to share before we get started. We're thrilled to have 45 thoughtfully assembled baskets generously donated by local businesses and community members. A special appreciation goes out to Alina Hamoud, a local foster mom and proud supporter of the MFCA, for her exceptional efforts in collecting and making over 20 baskets for this banquet. So thank you very much, Alina. Also, I don't want you guys to miss out on the opportunity to purchase MFCA swag. Head over to the table in the hallway to grab your swag and support our noble cause. Look for the tent cards on your table. They're all equipped with the QR code. Feel free to scan it to make a donation to MFCA. As you consider your support, please remember the incredible value of recurring donations. They provide a stable foundation for our ongoing efforts and allow us to plan ahead with confidence. Our volunteers will be circulating to collect any cash and check contributions. Take a moment to look at our first annual report. It's available on your table or at your convenience by scanning the QR code on the reverse side of the tent card. It's an excellent way to learn about the remarkable work that the MFCA is undertaking in the realm of the Muslim foster care. Also, please take a moment to enjoy the artwork done by a refugee foster youth, which is on loan from Samaritas, and it's right outside the hall. So, as you have heard in the video, the MFCA was founded by two Muslim foster mothers who recognized a gap in the system when it came to supporting Muslim foster children and preserving their faith identity. Their mission was to assist this vulnerable group of youth by offering direct aid, linking them with local resources, collaborating with foster care agencies to meet the youth's spiritual needs. At this time, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the board of the Muslim Foster Care Association, Rania Shahib, Dr. Samina Zahur, and Gina Sakukani. They will be sharing a brief presentation.
Oh my God, Assalamu alaikum. Brothers, sisters, honored guests, on behalf of Rania, Gina, and myself, I'd like to thank you for taking time out to be with us here today. We're going to keep it really brief, I promise, but we wanted to share a few reflections from our journey and just remind you of why your support is so crucial for us. So as you saw in the video, MFCA story started in 2015. I had just finished fostering for 2.5 years, my first placement. It was a young Muslim boy from Detroit, and Rania was getting ready to foster a refugee foster, a teenager from Somalia. And as you saw again in the video, we sort of really connected. That shared foster experience really brought us together. Over the past 8 years, MFCA has been dedicated to supporting Muslim foster youth originating from cities nearby and from faraway countries. Although we've learned that despite the apparent external differences that these children have, we realized that there was a shared experience and that these Muslim children encounter remarkably similar experiences in the foster care system. I remember one Ramadan, we had a 10-year-old Afghan boy who was staying with us for a weekend. And my son and I, we were making samosas with him, and we were talking about his traditions back in Afghanistan during Ramadan. And right in the middle of the conversation, just matter-of-factly, he said, you know, I didn't know when Ramadan was last year because I was living with a Muslim, with an American family. And I remember looking at my son, unsure of what to say, and he was a 10-year-old, he went back to his conversation, but it left me with an intense sadness and guilt at that time. These stories of lost traditions and severed connections with culture and community are so common in the stories of the children we serve. And that's why it's such a significant part of what MFCA does is partner with our local agencies to help train their staff and foster families about our faith traditions and diverse Muslim cultures. Our staff work hard to seek out and connect any Muslim foster child with their faith and local Muslim community. We're incredibly grateful for the partnerships that we've formed over the years with the local agencies and are honored to have representatives from some of them here today. Brothers and sisters, this work is just one aspect of what we need your ongoing support for, and it remains critical until we have enough Muslim licensed families to meet the need on their own. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. For many Muslim youth in foster care, it's easy for their faith to slip away from them. MFCA aims to protect their Islamic identity and to keep them connected to the Muslim community. One of our foster daughters initially lived with a family of another faith, but always made dua to be placed with a Muslim family. As soon as we received our license, she was moved to our home and her dua was answered. She told us sometimes that she would miss her prayer because her foster family didn't understand the importance of scheduling prayer throughout her day. She even told her foster family, "If I die, please find the Muslim community to make sure that she had an Islamic burial." One time I had a short placement of a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old Muslim girl. They told me that they hadn't eaten any meat in over a month because their foster family didn't have easy access to halal meat. Recognizing the hardship faced by some foster youth in acquiring halal meat, MFCA established a halal meat program to meet their dietary needs. In 2021, MFCA was the first organization that was called on to provide religious and cultural training for federal and state foster care agencies that were receiving Afghan unaccompanied refugee minors. The federal U.S. agency responsible for placing them turned to us for help as there were over 200 Afghan unaccompanied minors that came to shelters in Michigan. We were tested in our ability to work quickly and provide necessary resources to the foster youth that suddenly arrived. We assembled a team of Dari and Pashto-speaking volunteers and religious leaders to coordinate people to visit with the youth regularly, to provide weekly Jum'ah Salah and Halaqah sessions for the youth. Our teams provided regular support for spiritual and cultural needs during this traumatic transition for the youth. The Afghan crisis highlights the urgency and importance of our work, but it's not just limited to Afghanistan. We also work with Muslim foster youth from Pakistan, Somalia, Eritrea, Rohingya, Tajikistan, Ghana, New Guinea, and more. Crises around the world lead to more unaccompanied refugee minors arriving in our communities. What happens globally directly impacts our work.
Assalamu alaikum. I joined the board of Muslim Foster Care Association at the end of last year. When I joined, the organization was focused on growth and development. As Rania mentioned, the refugee crisis impacted us in 2021. In 2022, at the end of the year, we decided to start a program and focus on the domestic foster children. And we created an official domestic foster care program where we were able to hire a coordinator to focus on growing that program. One of the first things I realized when I joined the board was that there was that this board was really a working board. Rania and Samina, mashallah, do a lot of behind the scenes things that a lot of people don't know about. And so when we had the opportunity to hire an executive director, that allowed the board to then have the opportunity to focus on the organization's vision and future development. Looking to the future, we have ambitious plans. One of the plans is to launch a mentorship program next year. You will see in the 2022 annual report where we provide a description of the pilot program. You'll also see in the report all of our financial information, and you will see exactly how your funds are being utilized. We want to express our heartfelt gratitude to all of our donors. Without your generous donations, we would not be here today. We appreciate your zakat eligible donations that reach the Muslim foster youth directly, and we also appreciate your general donations that are critical for our overhead and keeping our organization running smoothly. I'd like to take a moment to ask all of you to do something that you may have not already had planned to do. If you came here with the intention of just writing one check today, we appreciate it and we hope that you guys do that. What I would also like to ask all of you, since majority, if not all of you, may be boycotting Starbucks right now, you may have a little bit of extra money since you've switched over to Tim Hortons and it's significantly cheaper. So if you have an extra $20 or $30, if you can make the intention today to instead direct those funds to Muslim Foster Care Association and be our monthly sustainer. $20 might not seem like a lot, but if there are 10 of you at each of these tables, 10 times 20 is 200, times 12, it's a lot, and it will make a big difference. So please consider becoming a monthly sustainer, because then together we can change the lives of our foster youth and ensure that they can stay connected to their faith. I'd like to introduce all of you to the individual who will play a pivotal role in guiding our organization's future, Ms. Khadija Moyes.
I have the staff of MFCA please come join me here. Thank you. Stay in order. You want to start here? Because I'm going to introduce you first. And then we can go next. All the way across. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Khadija Moyes, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of MFCA. I would like to begin by expressing my profound gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting me the opportunity to contribute to the mission of MFCA. However, I want to emphasize that I could not do this without the incredible support of a team of dedicated and selfless women who I am honored to work alongside. Please allow me to introduce them to you so you can become acquainted with the remarkable individuals behind MFCA. First, we have Shireen Abu Nada, our Director of Operations. Shireen is one of MFCA's initial team members, and she plays a pivotal role in the daily management of the organization and oversees any and all programs, projects from domestic foster care to refugee foster care and everything in between. And next up, we have Muna Musaid, our Domestic Foster Care Coordinator. Muna is responsible for all the programs that are related to anything domestic care related for domestic foster care children, their families, and our partnering agencies. Muna is also a foster mom with a heart of gold, and therefore she's an incredible resource and support for families fostering Muslim children. Moving on, we have Shona Siddiqui, who serves as our Unaccompanied Refugee Minors Program Coordinator, or URM. This position was actually born out of the Sorry, Shona. This position was actually born out of the Afghan crisis in 2021, and Shona's responsibilities encompass the management of all our programs related to refugee foster care with the children, again, the families, and our partnering agencies, alhamdulillah. And last, but certainly not least, we have Nabila Ikram. You've already had the pleasure of meeting her son, Ibrahim, earlier, who recited beautifully from Surah Al-Baqarah. Nabila serves as our social media coordinator, and she's the creative force behind MFCA's social media presence on various platforms, from Meta to LinkedIn to YouTube. She compiles our our quarterly newsletters that you, inshallah, are all getting. If you're not, please subscribe. And she skillfully manages our website. These incredible women form the backbone of MFCA, and I'm immensely grateful for their dedication and hard work that they contribute to our mission. And together, we strive to make a positive impact in the lives of Muslim foster children and their families. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting our cause. So at this time, before the board leaves, on behalf of all of us, your staff, we want to express our heartfelt appreciation to Gina and Rania and Samina. You've heard of all the exceptional things they've done and continue to do. Like Gina said, they're a working board. They're invested, and I don't think they'll ever not be, alhamdulillah. So your relentless work, your countless hours have not gone unnoticed. And you've always given to the advancement of MFCA for its betterment and for sacrifice so much for the Muslim foster youth and their families, and we thank you. And we want to present you with a special token of appreciation that was thoughtfully crafted by the florist at Maison Farola, just for you. So, under that. All right, I'll give it back to Linda.
Okay, so we have the honor of inviting a guest who holds a special place in our hearts and who has been a staunch supporter and early advisor to MFCA, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Masmari, to offer a few words. Sheikh Al-Masmari has played a pivotal role as an advisor to the MFCA board and staff. Since the inception of MFCA, he has been a passionate advocate for Muslim foster children and has contributed significantly to the education to the local community through a series of panel presentations on foster care from an Islamic perspective. Sheikh Al-Masmari also serves as the Imam to Ummah, one of our esteemed sponsors for Khalid.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. By the way, I just walked in and I wanted to gather my thoughts after I hear Imam Khalid speak. Bas, jazakumullah khair. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. May Allah bless you all for coming and supporting this beautiful initiative. It's amazing to see our community taking on this lead and reviving something that we believe is foundational in our religion. Supporting, giving, caring. And it's just, subhanAllah, assuring it is assuring that we will, as a community, see a beautiful and bright future where our ummah is continuously giving and contributing. What makes this unique is that, subhanAllah, as an ummah, we won't be able to succeed if we think that our personal initiatives is the only way out. Unfortunately, this is how we think as a community, that my thoughts, my ideas, my form of contribution is what we need as a community. And when we present our ideas and thoughts, this is our approach. But this wasn't the Prophet's approach, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Us together collectively contributing with our experiences, our sacrifices, our dedication is what revives an ummah. And this is why, subhanAllah, this beautiful organization, I remember when it first started, and subhanAllah, in the early beginnings, people just came together trying to solve a problem that has existed for so long, and Muslims have been absent, nowhere to be found. And you have an amazing group, it's always the sisters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them. And by the way, I've said this in lectures. I've said this a lot of times, so people that attend know. We always say, oh, the sisters are out there, they're the ones leading, but they're also the mothers. So if we have all the mothers, it means the future is bright in the future, because they're the homemakers, bi'idhnillah, they're the ones that lead the ummah, and they will, bi'idhnillah, give this ummah future leaders. So may Allah reward all the sisters. Do you have brothers on the board? Okay. So really, it's sister-based. May Allah bless you. Allah, and keep it like that. Keep it like that. Allah yazikum al khair. So please make sure that when we do this, we are serving our ummah. We are catering to those whom need the help. And you have people that have given their time, their energy to serve our ummah in a different capacity. And bi'idhnillah, never hesitate. Never think twice before sharing and giving and contributing. Can I ask one question? Is this a fundraising dinner or just a dinner? You all should speak. I know the sisters behind this. They are noble, honorable sisters. It's hard to get up and to say we're collecting funds. But you need to know that you're here to give funds. Wallahi. And it's hard for me, myself. When it's for me, I can't ask for money. It's so hard. And I know how difficult it is to fundraise. But these are honorable sisters that have taken on this mission. Please make sure that you're spreading the word. And if you can text out something, if you can send out a link, if you can share this information, these honorable sisters shouldn't feel that this organization is in financial need because they've already given their time for Allah. And the least that we can do is to go along this khair and to carry on bi'idhnillah, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the ajr of those whom have contributed and given. Jazakumullah khairan everyone. And we look forward to hearing from you. Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Now, it is my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker for the evening. The esteemed Imam Khalid Latif. Imam is a renowned Muslim chaplain and scholar. He has served as the executive director of the Islamic Center at New York University and is the university chaplain at NYU. He has been actively involved in interfaith and community work, as well as promoting understanding and dialogue among people of different faiths. Imam Khalid Latif and his wife have recently obtained their foster care license in the state of New York, which makes our cause particularly close to their hearts. Please join me in welcoming Imam Khalid to the stage.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah. Bismillah walhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Him, we praise Him, we glorify Him, beseech Him to send His choicest salutations upon His most beloved sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, and upon all those who choose to tread in His path until the last day. The work that I do outside of New York City has me at times visiting various sites in the world. Conflict zones, refugee camps, the aftermath of natural disaster. What I wanted to do was give you all a little bit of insight in terms of what it actually means when you are fostering a child that is coming from a refugee background, or even somebody who is in your own locale, in order to build empathy. We have a domestic violence shelter that we've started through our Islamic Center at NYU in New York. I've met with a lot of people who are survivors of abuse, people who deal with homelessness, food insecurity, all kinds of things that we'll get into. But all I want you to do for a moment is, as I share the narratives of young people that I've actually met in different parts of the world, be present as fully as you can be, and allow for yourself to align intentionality in a way that doesn't have you sitting here with hopes of trying to make yourself feel better, because then your giving is going to be for you and not for the beneficiary that needs you to be giving for them. It can't be a motivation of guilt or remorse, because sometimes it takes just a little bit to satiate ourselves. You have to be here with real love, real mahabbah. And to understand every single one of these children has a name, they have a narrative, they have their own aspirations, and they're entitled to a contentment. And so all I want you to do is just listen as we go through some of these. One of my most recent trips was to Morocco in the aftermath of the earthquake that took place there. May Allah make things easy for them. I had gotten a call the very next morning from somebody saying, hey, can you go to Morocco to do some relief work? And I turned to my wife and I said, they want me to go to this place. And she said, how can you not go? And I share this with you because the impetus in our home for us becoming foster parents was in large part from my wife's encouragement. She is a social worker, works with children who are survivors of abuse. And she's constantly telling me and reminding me that the platform that I've been given was not to be one that is self-serving. This has to be a principle that we understand, that you're not going to just be asked about what you did and what you did not do, but also what you had capacity to do and still didn't do it. And so we can make any decisions that we want to, but when you stand in front of the divine, you're going to have to explain why you did it in that way and what kept you from doing what you have ability to do. Prior to Morocco, went to Turkey, where there was an earthquake. This is my sister Melanie, a Turk, who runs Haut Hijab, if people know her. I think she's from Michigan. Michiganite. What is it? Michigander. She's a great person, mashallah. We went to Turkey, to the south, about a week after. These two young, beautiful souls are Hiba and Hamza. Hiba and Hamza are Syrian refugees who had already grown up in conflict and violence. The part of Turkey that we are in was in a camp now of people just living in tents, and 1 out of every 7 people that were in these tents were unaccompanied children, including Hiba and Hamza. One of the first things that Hiba and Hamza said to us when they saw us was, "Did the earthquake break your house too?" And when we met with local city electeds, the governor of this part of Turkey, and we said, "What's one of the things that you really need us to help with?" And she said, the governor's wife that was there, she said that there's so many orphans right now. There's so many children who have nobody looking after them. This part of Turkey already had Syrian refugees who these children, all they've grown up in is conflict. That's it. They went from one part of the world where airstrikes brought down their homes to this part of the world where earthquakes brought down their homes, and their peers and classmates are also Palestinian refugees. May Allah make things easy for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. Uyghur refugees who also were living in this part of Turkey, let alone residents of Turkey who are now children without parents. There was literally people whose bodies became just stuck in a position of protection around their child under the rubble. That the way their children survived was that the parents held them as close as they could, and their bodies became fortified in these ways. And that was the mechanism through which the child survived. And that's the kind of love we're being asked to tap into when we think about organizations like this. I'm going to keep saying it because you're going to have to come to a realization that it is so dumb, the reasons as to why we don't adopt and foster as Muslims. And the consequence is that there's babies on the other end of it who, why is it that they are left to deal with the vices of the world on their own? When I went to Myanmar, may Allah make things easy for our brothers and sisters, the Rohingya. The first time I ever heard of the genocide taking place in Myanmar was in 2012. That in Ramadan, in the nights similar to you all, we were reading from Quran in the Taraweeh prayers, and I heard a woman who was sobbing very deeply, but it didn't sound like tears that were motivated through spiritual emotion. She sounded like it was in pain. And so I found her and I sat with her and talked to her and I said, "What's going on?" And she said that in my village back home, we used to have 12 people who had memorized the Quran. And the Rakhine army and the Buddhist mobs, they came and burned alive 8 of them. She said the 4 that are left, they don't read out loud anymore. And I'm crying like this because I haven't heard the Quran recited like this in so long. One of the days I was in this place, 1,100 children crossed the border by themselves. There wasn't a refugee that I met in the camps in Bangladesh that couldn't tell me they hadn't seen loved ones burned alive in front of their eyes. Entire villages decimated. These children, still with smiles on their face, the fortunate amongst them likely were just separated from their families. But the majority of them likely witnessed their parents killed in front of them. We don't have a way to give them a bed. It's a question that has to be in reflection, not self-deprecation. Contemplation that does not give room for anything of the ego to just answer it. You have to answer it individually. What would really keep us from becoming a means through which these children have shelter, have food, have clothing, but also the support is one that provides them with love and hope and capacity to dream. This young girl, when we met her in this camp, again, Myanmar, we're filming content in a refugee camp that was in a valley, and we were on top of a cliff. And I was with 4 or 5 different relief agencies from the United States and the UK. This was after 500,000 refugees crossed the border. And so there wasn't a lot of infrastructure at this time. These are people fleeing ethnic cleansing and genocide. This young girl, she came to the edge of the cliff that we were filming from at the camp below, and there's no guardrail at the edge of this cliff. A steep drop, the way that this just goes straight down to the ground, about 20, 30 feet. And she's on its perimeter. I ran to grab her, put her to safety, and then turned and said, "Who's looking after this kid? Where are her parents?" When you're an orphan of genocide, it's not that you just don't have parents. There's not a living soul in the world that knows that this girl exists. Nobody can tell us her name. Nobody can tell us her age. Nobody can tell us where she came from or how she wandered in. It's an aloneness that you can't imagine. This is not as an aside. This is what is happening to our little brothers and sisters, the children in Gaza, the West Bank, and throughout Palestine. May Allah grant them ease. And you're seeing a lot of people in the world right now who are showing you that their God is money and that their religion is this unsatiable, greedy capitalism that validates and justifies the mistreatment of the world's most vulnerable and underprivileged. And what difficulties give us is revelations of all kind. You have a revelation that shows to you people whose interest is nothing other than their self-interest, that they validate and justify abhorrent behaviors. You also have a revelation of just what real beauty is. Individuals who are each and every day still getting up as medical professionals, people providing food services, emergency services, knowing fully that something might drop on the hospital that they're performing their medical care in and take their life and the life of all of their patients, but they're still getting done what they can. They live the hadith that says, if the qiyamah is upon you and you have the seedling in your hand, you still plant the tree. You have a revelation that still undeniably this world functions off of parameters that race and class define who has and who has not. And the most important revelation, fourthly, is a revelation of the self. How do I respond to all of it? What am I doing in relation to it? When you hear their stories, you're bombarded with news, you should feel sad. That means you have a good heart. But you have to let that heart then be sovereign over the body and say, well, where can I fit into some of this? This child exists. These children exist. I live in an apartment in Manhattan, New York. If I can take foster children into my Manhattan apartment, you can take them into your home. And I say it to you with love. You have a lot more space than you realize, and you have a lot more than you've been given than you realize. There should be no shortage of Muslim families that can take these babies in when they're coming. We went to the West Bank right before COVID hit. Our Islamic Center at NYU is built a little bit differently than Muslim university organizations in different parts of the country. So we do a lot of different programs and services. Alhamdulillah, I love my community. It's known as a generous community. And so before COVID, we went to Palestine. May Allah end the occupation that's taking place there. And we built a relationship with the Aida refugee camp. Children who are living in these spaces, many of you might be aware, the realities of multi-generational Palestinians living internally displaced in their own lands. Individuals who we are seeing, the crises that they are going through, the inequity, the oppression that stems from occupation. My family's from Kashmir. It's also an occupied land. May Allah make things easy for the Muslims in the Indian subcontinent. But in being able to understand and recognize, consequently from this, there's still children who are trying to still just be children in the midst of all of this. I went to Sri Lanka to work with internally displaced populations there. That twice over, when the Tamil Tigers were the governing regime, they expelled large numbers of Muslims from their home cities, living now in the wilderness, no infrastructure. These were people who were deeply persecuted, going through all kinds of challenges. I met with groups of women who, when we sat and we had just 45 minutes together and we were just engaged in conversations, the first thing that they said to me as we're starting our discussion is, can you tell us from the Quran and the Hadith something that will get our husbands to stop hitting us? Let alone the fact that this is not something that our tradition advocates for. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says, لَمْ يَضْرِبْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِمْرَأَةً وَلَا غُلَامًا وَلَا وَلَدًا قَطْ, that the messenger of God never struck a woman or a servant or a child ever. And it's not to say that the women that are in that situation are not important enough. And I say this to you as somebody who's the founder of a domestic violence agency, whose community has opened one and inshallah will continue to open many more shelters for survivors of domestic violence. What do you think the kids are going through in this situation? When I'm walking through these villages, there was a mother who, when she found out I was from America, she tried to give me her daughter. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, you have to take my child. And I said, I cannot take your child. And she said, if you do not take my child, one of two things is going to happen. Either I am going to die before her because they don't have anything. And then she will die shortly after because there's no one to look after her. Or she's going to die before me. And then that's going to kill me. And I'm not going to be able to live for that much longer. I don't know how to explain to you what that experience is like. That a mother who loves her baby hands you her baby and says, take my baby. But there are all kinds of mothers who, if they knew that their children had a place of comfort in your home, they would be lining up to give them to you right now. And the only obstacle you have to overcome is to fill out some papers, to maybe get to a place where you say, you know what, I understand the parameters of this religion, but I will figure it out. And the receiving end of it are things that are very important for us to reflect upon. This is the last picture. I didn't take this picture. It's an important picture. It was taken in 1993. I still remember when it won various prizes. Some of you might remember as well. in Sudan, where right now Sudan is in its 200th plus day of conflict. May Allah make things easy for the people there. This picture was called The Vulture and the Struggling Girl. They found out it was actually a little boy. And where the little boy is trying to crawl to is a refugee site where they could get some food. I don't know why rules are the way that they are. Media, journalists, not allowed to intervene in certain situations. But really, I'm asking you as your brother who loves you, haven't we been given a lot? I think about this quite often for myself. When my children say to me, Baba, you're going to go where this earthquake happened. What if there's another earthquake? And I say, Kareem, Medina, if there's another earthquake, I'll try my best to be safe. What can I tell them? That if Allah gave me something that enables people to trust to donate. Our student-based community raised $700,000 for Morocco, then raised $300,000 for Libya, and so far has raised $1.1 million for the people of Gaza. May Allah make things easy for all of them. So I'm going to look at my child who I love and I'm going to say, I love you so much that it's going to keep me from being able to do for somebody else's kid things that I have ability and I'm not going to do. What is my understanding then really of my placement in this world in relation to the world beyond this one? What is my conviction? What is my belief? What are my ideals, my values? And as I'm trying to reconcile these things within myself and understanding that there are people who they live in certain ways because of the ways that we live. And the benefits that we derive from structures and systems that are purposely built to hold down those who are underserved and underprivileged. And also tell you that I don't think my grandparents grew up under colonization and occupations as much as the collective history of our ancestry in this room is rooted in realities of slavery and colonization and imperialism and people going through the difficulties that they went through. It's not so that we would sit where we sit right now and just have comfort for ourselves. My degrees, my credentials, my networks, my communities, all of these other kinds of things, they're not given to us to be self-serving. And I can tell you, man, the first time we had a placement, little 2-year-old boy in our home. My wife and I are up in the middle of the night with this kid. And I looked at my wife and I said, I don't know, I might be too old to be doing this again. But seeing this little boy smile, knowing what the alternative would be. You all are good people. You might not think in this way. But when you've sat down, not just with people who have been abused, but also with abusers, you see right now in the world how many people there are who exert decisions through an absence of ethics. There are gross human beings who utilize systems to derive governmental stipends by taking children in under the guise of being foster parents, and then they mistreat those kids and keep the money for themselves. That's why you should be a foster parent, because you're a good human being. And as hard as it was, it still felt good to be able to connect this child and give him back to his mother, who also did not lose her baby because she was a bad mother, but as a woman of color who was a single parent, the systems were already built against her to automatically take the child away for no real feasible reason. And that mother needed to have the solace that my son was at least being looked after by parents who care for their children enough, then we know that they're caring for mine as well. And I can sit here and tell you story after story after story of child after child after child that is in a place where they sit in just concrete structures. You see how these dots have to connect. When billions of dollars go into military, it doesn't leave a lot of money to go into social services. When tons of cash is being put into military industrial complexes and prison industrial complexes, they're not setting things up in a way where these little angels who are now trying to figure out how to exist are provided with all kinds of comfort and resources. That's what you're being asked to support today, to ensure that these young children, their needs are met. I said it to my wife. She said, how will we navigate some of these things that come up? Mahram issues, all kinds of things. And I said, look, if I have to inconvenience myself, I will inconvenience myself. What is the alternative? What are we really saying? And you have to think about this for yourself. And this will be the last thing that I say. I don't know how long I'm supposed to speak for. Huh? The consequence here, if you're a Muslim in this room especially, these are the people that Allah has told you they're good in the next world. We're going to be asked about why we let them get to these places. That you have to think about children losing their identity, losing their heritage. And I'm going to say this to you, at least some of these kids get to stick in homes where there's good Christian people that are looking after them. The majority of them just live in the system forever. They get bounced from place to place to place. If we can converge experiences all together, I've sat with people who, when they were children, they were put into circles of trafficking. I've sat with people who the first person who gave them a sandwich as they were living on the streets ended up being the person who put them into prostitution. These are realities that exist that we have to think deeply about. And if you have to think about it in an egocentric way, what are you going to say to God? What's the answer you would give? I had the wealth, I had the credentials, I have the space in my house. We have an amazing team of people who you don't even have to do it, they're going to do it for you. What is left that you need to be able to get it done? And that's where I started is where it's important to end. It has to be with love. There has to be an element of mahabbah to it. I don't know why the world is the way that it is sometimes, but if you can bring light into someone's life, even one person, that's a maqam you want to be able to stand in front of the divine with. I've gone through the process, my wife and I, to become foster parents. It just takes time, but it's not difficult. You can do it. Somebody wants to talk to you about how adoption works and fostering works. There's ways to make it work in our religion that are not even loopholes. Things that are just rooted firmly in our tradition that tell us to take care of children in need. Just take a moment in this gathering where you're surrounded by people who came with common intention and think about what it means now to live in this religion with a sense of actually conviction and belief in what it professes. And what would somebody who buys into it do with these realities? You live in a part of the country where refugees do come and will continue to come. Some of them will be children. They should come to your homes. You sit down and have conversations and think out strategies. We did all of it. We go on vacation. What do? How do we deal with certain things? My line of work has a lot of public stuff to it. I have a community that is 10, 15,000 people. What would I do bringing a foster child into this space? These are not the kinds of things we want to expose our foster child to. My wife and I talked about it. We had a conversation about it. Everything gets figured out. And at the end of it, these little babies get to feel love. They get to feel support. And I promise you, your heart is going to be the one that benefits from it the most. You are going to gain from it the most. So fulfill your intention for being here today. Give as much as you can, if not even more than that. And then just sit with the idea, could I be a foster parent? Could I be someone that adopts this child? Inshallah ta'ala, Allah Azza wa Jal will facilitate for you and make it a means of benefit for you in this world and in the next. Wallahu ta'ala alam wa billahi tawfiq. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.
Jazakallah alf khair, Imam Khalid, for that inspiring speech. We truly appreciate you being here with us this evening. Just FYI, we do have volunteers walking around to collect donations, and/or you can use your QR codes. Now we'd like to take a moment to listen to personal testimonials from Muslim foster youth and foster families. Please direct your attention to the screen behind me.
The reason why I love to be with a Muslim family is because they know what types of food I like, and they teach me how to pray, and they take me to the masjid.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Adam. I really appreciate being in a Muslim foster home because they understand my religion and respect my Islamic roots.
Hi, I think it is important for a Muslim kid to be placed in a Muslim foster home, just because it's about making sure they have a home where they can keep their beliefs and traditions. So in a Muslim foster home, these kids can do the things that are important to their religion, like celebrating special days. It's like having a family that basically understands their religion. They also get to eat food that follows their religious beliefs. Being in a Muslim foster home basically helps these kids feel like they belong, and it gives them a place to talk about their faith. And it's not just for these kids, it also teaches everyone about being respectful and accepting different cultures and religions. That way our community becomes more welcoming and diverse. So being in a Muslim foster home, I feel like it's all about giving these kids a loving place where they can be who they are, and that's a great thing for everyone to support, honestly.
Hi, I would like to say thank you to the Muslim Foster Care Association. I would like to give them credit for giving me a family that really did care like a family, that loved me and helped me embrace my culture. It is very important to be placed in a Muslim household if you are a Muslim. You should be able to embrace your culture comfortably. Thank you to the Muslim Foster Care Association.
سلام علیکم خانم ملیحه. سلام احترامات برای خودت، برای فامیلی تقدیم میکنم. خداست که خودت و فامیلت همه تان جور صحتمند دارای صحت کامل باشین. حفیظ احمد شورا هستم، پدر عنایت احمد شورا و حکمت احمد شورا. بسیار زیاد تشکر، خیلی بسیار زیاد تشکر، یک جهان تشکر. ممنون احسانتان، بسیار زحمت کشیدین، بسیار همکاری کردین. ما بسیار زیاد تشکری میکنم، بسیار خیلی زیاد تشکر. ما برای آقای که رسام چند بار زنگ زدم، تلفن ما نبرداشت دیگه. امروز هم لمبر خود تا وای فای گرفتم، از این تلفن دیگه گرفتم کشیدم، گفتم باش برات یک وایس بانم. بسیار زیاد تشکر، خیلی بسیار زیاد تشکر، خیلی بسیار زیاد تشکر، یک جهان تشکر. ممنون احسانتان، بسیار زحمت کشیدین، بسیار همکاری کردین. بسیار زیاد تشکریم.
It all happened 2 weeks before Ramadan. So my husband and I are just looking at each other like, this is completely new to us. Praise God for MFCA because Shona, Rania, the team came up and they partnered with us and they were like, we are going to teach you everything you need to know to be able to be the home for a Muslim girl. And they did. They provided halal meat. I asked all the questions. They showed us where the nearest mosque was, all the things that we needed to know to be able to join her in the fasting, breaking meals together, things that were priority for her, we were able to do because of MFCA. And so we're eternally grateful to you guys because you did such an amazing job helping us transition, made it as smooth as it could possibly be. And if you're out there and you are Muslim, imagine how much more easier that could be if you're actually licensed to foster, because that transition would have been even easier for her because this is her religion and this is your common religion with her. So I want to encourage you in that, that it is amazing and it is possible, but we're super, super thankful for that.
Those that know me know that I'm a crybaby. So my makeup is gone. I wear my heart on my sleeve. We're also privileged today to have with us Imam Kip Kernat and his wife Saba Ashfaq from Al Tawheed Mosque in Grand Rapids. Imam Kip and Saba have played a pivotal role in organizing and supporting refugee foster youth in the Grand Rapids community. Recently, they have become licensed foster family. Mashallah. Please join us in welcoming Imam Kip and Saba as they share their inspiring story and their involvement in refugee foster care.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulillah. First, I just want to echo something that Sheikh Khalid said in his beautiful speech about that at the end, it's you and your heart that will benefit the most from taking care of children in need. And immediately it reminded me of a narration we just came across a few days ago in a dars that we have in the masjid from Ibn Umar, radiyallahu anhu. It was narrated that Ibn Umar would refuse to eat a meal unless he could find an orphan to sit with him to share his meal with. So this shows you how much of a sunnah it was from the Salaf, from the predecessors of this ummah, to give care to the orphans and to people in need. And that sense of responsibility in front of Allah for the blessings that Allah has given you. The Salaf, they used to say, صاحب درهمين أشد حسابا من صاحب درهم. The person who has 2 dirhams is going to be asked more in front of Allah than the one who only has 1, right? And we as Muslims in America, whatever our status may be, we're all blessed, right? And generally, we're doing much better in our lives and living much easier than our brothers and sisters around the world. And so to prepare ourselves to face Allah with that responsibility of the gifts that He's given us, we need to take the barakah from those people who are in need around us. So to have an orphan in your house, or to even have them over to share a meal with you every once in a while, or to give them a ride to the masjid, or whatever it may be to participate, then we are in need of the barakah of that even more than they are in the need of our help. So I was asked for us to talk a little bit about our experience about how MFCA has supported and helped us along our journey. But support and help is really misleading, because when you say support and help, it sounds like we were trying to do something good and then they came to give a helping hand. But that's not really the way it worked at all. I came to Grand Rapids, to Masjid al-Tawheed, just over 2 years ago, right at the same time that a big wave of unaccompanied children from Afghanistan showed up in the city. And so one of the first phone calls I got was from MFCA. And they didn't say, hey, how can we help you? They said, you guys need to step up. These kids are there in your area, and you need to take care of them. How can you get them to the masjid? How can you get them in the Sunday school? How can you get in touch with their families? Ramadan came around, they said, how can you get them to Taraweeh? How can you get them involved? They said, how can you help us to recruit Muslim families to be licensed foster care families? And then the phone call came. Now it was a little bit softer. Why don't you become licensed? So then at that point we felt you can't really say no, so we thought, okay, well at least you go through the process, right? At least you get licensed. It doesn't hurt to do some paperwork and some training sessions. At least you can say you did it, you're licensed, and then if anybody else in the community says, well, why don't you do it? You say, well, I did it. I already did it. I became licensed, so what's your excuse? And then the next phone call came. Well, there's 2 girls that need a place. Can they come be with you? So then, once again, you can't say no to that, right? So MFCA, for us personally, they weren't a help or a support. They were the advocates for those kids in need that really forced us and pushed us to stand up and play whatever small role that we can to be there for them. So I ask Allah to reward everyone that's involved, to continue to bless your organization, to help you to do this good work, to be those advocates for those kids that are in need. Because if nobody is speaking up from them from amongst our community, then there's going to be nobody to advocate for them. So thank you all so much for your hard work.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asaba Ashfaq, and we recently became foster parents. I've been working with Muslim foster care as a volunteer for about a year or so, trying to get involved with the Afghan youth that came in, and just providing rides, helping organize Sunday school classes, any nighttime events, and then getting them those halal meat sources, talking to their families, seeing where they are. And throughout the process, I quickly realized I was one of the familiar faces they had. There was changes in their family. They went from home to home. They had, different, therapists, different people. And I realized I was one of the only faces they had that was still familiar from when they first stepped into the country. And I realized I was making a difference. I was making an impact in these kids. And I was giving them the comfort and support they were looking for from the Muslim community. And as a foster parent now, I've received a lot of help and support from Muslim foster care. I know Shon has always one phone call away. So that's been a very helpful support and guidance. I agree with Imam that these kids are good. They're good with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The question you ask yourself every day is, are you going to be good with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And it's your heart that needs changing. It's your heart that is questioning your vulnerabilities, your fears, your childlessness. It's your heart that needs to change. I was sitting with the girls last night, and they were missing their parents. They don't know their parents' faces. And I told them to draw their parents, and then I told them, you are like the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't get to experience the childhood with his parents, and this is what you share with the Prophet that we don't share with the Prophet. So every day is a very profound experience. My perspective and my family life has changed. When I sit with my kids, when I sit with my husband, when I make sajda, nothing is the same, alhamdulillah. And my husband has been a very great support. In some ways, he's more patient, mashallah. He's more giving, he's more accommodating. He's been, alhamdulillah, good support.
You're not too bad.
Thank you. All right, assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair.
So at this point, I would like to ask our guests from our partnering agencies to stand up and be recognized. Bethany Christian Services, please stand. Samarita, please stand. And my very own Vista Maria, please stand. Thank you very much for your continued support with the MFCA. So I would like to welcome back Imam Khalid Latif so that he may conclude this evening with the heartfelt dua, which is a supplication.
So I'd ask you all just to take a moment. I know conversation has probably taken us in a lot of different directions. To just recenter yourself to the space. In our tradition, we're not just a people that pray with our bodies, we pray with our hearts. And so you want to be here as present as possible, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and recognize that the elevation of our collective prayer becomes contingent upon each individual heart's presence, which means your heart is the most important heart in the room. So just let any distractions kind of go away and allow for yourself to be here as fully as you can. I know there's a lot of different heavy things going on in the world right now. And so a lot of my dua, I think, would function just to highlight some of those things. Inshallah ta'ala, Allah Azza wa Jal will accept our prayer and give even better than what it is that we are asking of Him. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma laka alhamdu kama yanbaghi li wajhika wa azim sultanik. Laka alhamdu hamdan tahiran tayyiban mubarakan fihi la yawmiddin. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وفي الآخرين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah, and beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present herein and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all other hearts that are gathered here only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. We come today, Ya Allah, to show support for our little brothers and sisters around the world who find themselves in a state of difficulty. These little angels, Ya Allah, who are in our own cities, who are in cities across this country, who are in cities throughout the world, looking for love, looking for support, looking for some semblance of hope that somebody sees them, recognizes them, knows that they are there. Ya Allah, make us from amongst the best of their supporters, and let not any one of them feel unloved in this world. The difficulties that surround us are quite immense, Ya Rabbi. Our brothers and sisters in Sudan who have been facing conflict for days and days and days. Our brothers and sisters in Morocco and Turkey and Libya and Afghanistan facing natural disaster. In addition, our Afghani brothers and sisters as refugees being sent from Pakistan back to their country in a state that is tumultuous to say the least. Our Uyghur brothers and sisters, our Rohingya brothers and sisters, our sisters and brothers in Gaza throughout Palestine. Grant them all ease, Ya Rabbi, and make us a generation that witnesses a free Palestine in our lifetime. We ask, Ya Allah, that you put barakah and blessing into the good work that the Muslim Foster Care Association is doing. And you let not any one of us leave from this place without doing our part to support them in this good work. Open our hearts, Ya Rab, to recognize who it is that we are meant to be. And do not make us those who are confined by the false realities of this world. Make us those who taste true contentment, Ya Allah, that can only come by being in service of you through being in service of your creation. Remove from our hearts anything that causes distraction. Make us bold enough to ask of you to make us those who only do that which is good, to make us the answer to people's prayers. Help us to realize all that it is that you have given to us, and instill within our hearts a deep love that enables us to go out and share all of it with those who are around us. Bless each and every one, volunteers, donors, caretakers, caregivers, foster parents, guardians, whoever that is going to do their part in ensuring that these little angels do not feel alone. In a world that is filled with ego, with greed, with so much self-interest, help us to remember always who our teacher is, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Help us to make decisions through our heart and never at its expense. And make us always the reason that people have hope in this world, never the reason that anyone might dread it. We ask, Ya Allah, that by the barakah of this gathering, you accept our dua. That by the presence of the righteous that are here, you accept our dua. That by the sincerity of the most sincere that are here, you accept our dua. Bless the good work of the Muslim Foster Care Association and make us those who learn from their example. Open our hearts, Ya Rabbi, so that we will open up our homes to those who are in need and continue to give to us so that we have more to give to others. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Thank you for that inspirational dua. And thank you to all of you. Thank you for being here tonight and for your ongoing support of the MFCA. Please savor your dinner and dessert, which is coming out now. Don't forget to place your bids on any silent auction items that have piqued your interest. Bidding will come to a close in the next 10 minutes. And the winners will be revealed during dinner. And we will be praying Maghrib at 5:30 at the end of the hall. And I believe it's called the Grand Ballroom. And enjoy your dinner.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. The slides up here will show you if you won something, it's going to go through. So please make sure if you did bid for something, look for your name, okay? And if you're not sure, you can just go to the desk over there and they'll help you. Assalamu alaikum.
Amen.